Well, firstly, thanks for staying the duration for the graveyard shift. I think there's maybe the back end of day 2. Is that me or you? What are we doing there? We're good. The back end of day 2 may be worse, but I appreciate that there's probably us and then Anita and Mernes who are keeping you from a glass of wine and a cold beer. So very much appreciate you dropping by for 20 minutes or so, where we're going to look at moving beyond maybe that traditional relationship and that media plan and the partnerships with clients and agencies to explore how using search engine optimization, I want to be clear, not search engine advertising, how can enable you to connect more with healthcare professionals and patients. So, moving on to some introductions.
Hi, I'm Harry Sklavounos, Global Commercial Director at Performance.io. So 10 years in the industry, and then I joined Matt at Performance.io about 4 years ago.
Thanks, Harry. Matt Lowe, Chief Executive Officer and founder at Performance.io. I have a bit more than Harry. I know it doesn't look it, but I've got 25 years in life sciences now. And the first half of that I was in-house. I started at Sanofi Santolabo, worked across a range of commercial sectors in pharma, and I kind of always start off by saying I thought then and I think now it's a real privilege working in healthcare. I thought it from the day I joined the industry to what I do now. But through my time, and certainly in the early noughties, late noughties, I started to explore industry standards, coding, data, and through that journey, I, in many ways, became a bit disenfranchised with what I was doing in pharma. I was giving extraordinary sums of money to third-party media vendors, to media agencies, to buy us graphs like this. We weren't segmenting, we weren't targeting, we weren't tracking levels of interaction. There was definitely no ROI. I question, does that change now? So I left Pharma to head up digital operations at a mid-sized network agency globally. And I really thought we'd be a panacea for all ills and start with customer centricity. But to be honest, although some wonderful agencies, we were probably a bit more of an echo chamber for client briefs, focusing on fee recognition, not our customers. So that led me to, thanks, Harry. All right, there's an AI machine around there. I thought I should mention AI.
We were advocating for it because it's quite fun.
So younger, you've turned from Greek to Indian, and I've look a bit younger and less grey. And that led me to setting up the company that I founded 8 years ago, Performance.io. So over the next 20 minutes, we're going to explore the current search engine optimization landscape in pharma. We're going to look at what we see as the biggest opportunities relevant to pharma. At Pharma, we always say we're very different because we're highly regulated. There is nuance, but there are extraordinary opportunities that we can embrace. And then highlight what the best in our industry are doing in order to transform customer engagement, customer acquisition, and the financial market, or the financials in the space. And the first thing I want to ask, which may have changed in the last several months, but over the last 20 years, what is the first thing every single one of your customers has done when they need information? Thank you, Roland. They Google it. And if that is a universal behavior for all of your customers, I know talk healthcare professionals, consultants, pharmacists, nurses, mums, dads, sisters, brothers, carers, if that's the first place they go, and then I go on to ask all of our customers, what does your congruent international, national, local search engine marketing strategy look like? That is the noise you hear. Background chatter and a fan in the room. And for years, it's been the domain of, is it customer engagement? Is it head of digital? Is it pharma tech, DevOps? Is it agencies? Who's leading in this space? Because the model has not focused on this, which is at odds for an industry that spends billions on soft skills and in-call quality to routinely ignore the first step in every one of its customers' user journey is nothing short of bizarre. Even if you don't want to do SEO, it's a great unbiased way to understand what is important to your customers. If I've heard it once today, I've heard it 100 times. We want to be patient-centric, we want to be customer-centric. And that's what led me to launch what we feel is Pharma's first specialist search engine optimization agency. Not a media group writing some metadata or doing a search audit, but an end-to-end performance looking at search engine optimization and more recently generative engine optimization as well. So who do we do it for? A lot of people say, well, maybe that's not us. We are a global preferred partner above country, so global to local for 16 of top 20 global pharma. So often I'm talking about your data. And what do we do? Time and time again, we're delivering a 400%, 500%, 600% increase in relevant organic traffic by improving domain authority. It sounds great, the baseline's poor. So often it's 2,000 or 3,000. We're building authority, domain authority for our clients, which gives them efficiencies elsewhere, but it also reduces that over-reliance on paid media. If you understand the mechanisms of the web on the whole, if I improve your authority, your bid volumes can come down. And we're putting SEO at the heart of the omni-channel experience. I hate the word, we could just call it marketing. But the reality is, if I create a traffic hose of relevant traffic to your site, you can then triage it to request a rep visit, e-consent, attend a conference. How do I initiate? How do I switch? How do I up-titrate? All of the commercial buying signals that drive dynamic scripts.
Awesome. Cheers, Matt. So let's get into a bit more detail around why we take an organic first approach to our strategy. So this is your typical search engine results page. The top 2 or 3 of which has obviously changed and we'll come on to in a little bit, are typically your paid search results, right? And data suggests that the click-through of your paid ads is roughly around 3%, so pretty low. And what people tend to do, they know they're being sold to, they appreciate that it's an advert, so they tend to click over that and come to the top organic search positions. Now, the top 5 organic search positions account for roughly 70% of click-through, so for you guys to be competitive, so that you're winning for your brand and your brand terms, you've got to really exist within those top 5 organic search positions so that you can, excuse me, be competitive and win that space. But this is where the big disconnect is that we see, and this is what Matt came on to talk about. So the vast majority of traffic acquisition within our industry comes through paid channels, right? Whether that be paid search, banner ads, email campaigns. And actually, this is the transition that we're trying to make within our industry. So rather than be reliant on those paid avenues, why not, map out those insights, understand what your audiences are searching for, and make sure you're appearing within those top search results, whether it be, your typical Google, or now the LLMs that are launching so often. And that comes on to a nice question that we're getting asked over and over again, and we got it asked this morning to us. So, is SEO dead? And obviously, we get this question every time there's a Google algorithm update, every time there's a new platform update. And actually, what is the reality? Well, the reality is that search is evolving, right? People are searching in a different way. It's not going to stay the same. And with the launch of things like ChatGPT, the place in which people are searching is changing as well. So it's not about, we need to make sure that we're evolving with that and being where our customers are when they're searching. We can come on to talk around those tactics in a little bit more detail later on. And actually, despite the noise, some of the recent data that's coming out is suggesting that Google still is the behemoth within this space. So Google last year still had 92% market share of search queries online. And when we compare that to chatbots and LLMs, that was roughly around 3%. So 34 times more than what your chatbots and LLMs are still getting. So yes, people are changing and search landscape is evolving. We have to be cognizant of that. But let's not forget about the 99% of the time where your users are going to Google and other conventional search engines as well.
Thanks, H. All right, so what are we seeing? There's a disconnect. People are spending all their budget where they're not getting the return of investment, they're not getting the customer engagement, they're ignoring the spaces where all of you go. We've become unbelievable. You're being sold to. We all go down to the first organic listings or the AIY now, the artificial intelligence overview. The data kind of, for me, has mapped out a pattern over the last decade or two, that the agency model in pharma does not work for pharma, it works for agencies. And there's a speech from Jeff Daniels in the newsroom by Aaron Sorkin, who also wrote The West Wing, that says America is not the greatest country in the world to a group of students in America. And it's like, this is madness. For me, the data is overwhelmingly suggests that the agency model in pharma works for agencies. What do I mean by that? How can I validate that? Well, every time there's a drug launch, take in any market, it is exponentially worse in the US. Again, we work with all of these clients, we see it. There are multiple sites per brand, per launch. So we're launching a site, we need pricing, payer, market access. There'll be 3 or 4 PR sites, then there's the disease state, then there's the brand, there's one for HCPs, consultants, primary care, pharmacists, carers, the list goes on. So you've got multiple sites per market, per brand. That is all of the DevOps, all of the build, all the creative costs, all of the copywriting, 4 rounds of amendments through medical, legal, regulatory, all of the campaign development. It is a fee recognition machine. It is propagated by agencies to say, you need to do all of this. And we haven't had, pharma are complicit in this problem because we haven't asked the right question for years, going, why would we do this? Why would we not consolidate to a one-domain approach as an international business with a pipeline of brands? Like every other consumer brand did over the last 15 years, almost without exception, unless you were very niched. It gets worse. When you look at this, you often have all of those sites without any page mapping competing for the same keyword. Who's getting wealthy from that? Who is getting wealthy from that? Media platforms and agencies. That's not helping patients, that's not helping carers, and that is not why we work in healthcare. So we need to change this. We need to ask better questions, and the place to do that is to start with audience intent. Vanitha and Mirez are talking about this earlier. They're talking about today. I must have heard customer centricity and patient centricity 150 times today. You can't be patient or customer centric if you can't tell us exactly what your customers are searching for. So the first thing to do is start with the insights. What are the topics, pillars, clusters, and word vectors that show intent around our brand and ladder up to our strategy? Some of them will be really alluring, but we don't have the authority to conquer them. So how do we build a stepwise approach to targeting different topics and clusters to drive an exponential growth in traffic? To do that, you have to understand where you sit, where your competitors sit, and where to play and where to avoid. This is the base plate of your entire ecosystem. You can't then go on to build a site, in my mind, if you don't have this information. How are you going to define a domain strategy, hierarchies, taxonomy, structured data sets, schema markup, if you don't know the insights around your brand and search queries? So when we come in and people say, we've built the site, and I say, how? They say, we use Python, then we were on Drupal. I don't care about the code base and the CMS. How did you build the site without any insights? Like, we're going to do that afterwards. You're going to start again with the costs, and the site is going to flatline like so many other sites in pharma. So you've got the insights. You can develop an SEO sitemap, a domain strategy, and a plan. You then need to populate it with content. Again, an area for me that's ripe for disruption in healthcare, not just because of AI, but the fact that the process in pharma is currently a brand manager who focuses on brand, USPs, and KPIs. I tell you now, patients and carers don't give a shit about your USPs and KPIs. They care about what they've typed into a search engine to improve or save lives. So, understanding that, we reverse the process of, as opposed to a pharma person briefing a very bright PhD in a medcoms agency who writes really long-form content that doesn't answer the regular questions or follow any mandates of the web, that content flatlines. We reverse engineer it, we look at the queries, we look at the competitive landscape and who's winning. We then pass that on to our medical copywriting division who write the medical content, answering the relevant questions and following the mandates of the web. Surprise, surprise, that content performs really well and we can learn from it. And then you iterate. So that's the process we go through. It works. This is not from a case study from an agency. I don't think they're worth the slides they're written on from us or any other agency. This is from one of our clients. Very advanced client in the space. A couple of people sat in the room who have been brave enough to lead on this. It was sourcing and procurement who did this analysis. And this shows you paid versus organic channels. You can see over the last 4 years, the reliance on paid, where they only had 7,000 clicks and 2 from organic, we've inverted that. And by doing that, we've now got 55,000 in organic and 9,000 from paid. When you look at the data, it's damning. Cost per visit, 37 times cheaper for organic than paid. Cost per page view, 39 times cheaper. These may be vanity metrics. In fact, I would be the person that say they are. But you can't get to proper metrics without the surrogate markers of relevance, and you cannot cheat user signals. That is, how well are people engaging with your site in relation to the search term. So when we set high-value conversions, destinations like how do I initiate, how do I switch, how do I up-titrate, or request a rep visit, all commercially dynamic script opportunities, you can see it's 36 times cheaper per cost per conversion for your high-value conversions. This changes the commercial landscape in pharma. The final piece where I hand back to Harry is a unified web strategy. I talked about that kind of whack-a-mole website Tourette's. Let's build another one, let's build another one, let's build another one. That's not how you should be thinking. You should be thinking about your pipeline in a pill. How do we expand our authority for our 10-year pipeline with a one-domain consolidated web approach? So it's taking all of those sites, thinking about what's relevant, what you need to keep, what you need to get rid of, building a migration map and intuitively putting it into one architecture. The results are transformational. I would argue, I'll state it now on record, every single drug company will do this in the next decade. I don't care if they do it 1 year or 10. Every company will do it because it releases tens of millions in wasted maintenance, build, DevOps. It improves efficiencies on media. You get cross-domain linking, better UX. It's like absolute no-brainer. But agencies won't like it because it kills a lot of their revenue. So that's the current state of play, but a lot of that content is locked.
Awesome. Cheers, Matt. So I think the other thing that we see, particularly across European markets, is you have to have a healthcare professional login for your branded promotional content to be accessed by healthcare professionals. And actually, there's a solution to that, right? So often we say, no, we can't do this because of X, Y, and Z, but actually, with a paywall mechanism, we can actually explore compliantly indexing and allowing Google to crawl our content and actually serve that in search results in a compliant manner, because we can really mandate what is shown in those search engine results page. So I'll take you through the user flow. So your healthcare professional types in efficacy of brand X, and they're served currently with this situation where there's a ton of websites on the search engine results page, none of which are your branded promotional material because you've locked it down, and there's a login mechanism which is preventing Google from crawling and indexing that content. In the optimized situation where we've implemented a paywall, Google can read, crawl, index that content, and actually serve compliantly your content within those search results. And actually, we can mandate what's shown within that metadata. So brand X efficacy information for healthcare professionals only. And we can say, whatever we need to say aligned to the local market regulatory body. Once that's done, the user journey is exactly the same. So they then click onto that search engine results page, click through to it, and they still have to log in to access that information. But actually, what this is doing, although that user journey is the same here, is it's allowing us to gain organic traffic to a platform that historically we haven't done because Google has prevented it because we've had that login in place. And this is something that is done ex Pharma all the time. If you click onto the Wall Street Journal and you see an article in Google, you click onto it and they ask you to subscribe in order to view it. It's the same thing. We're not subscribing, we're logging in and we're not paying for anything. And this is something that we're doing across the industry now. Done this across multiple markets. This is a nice case study from Germany where we've recently launched one test page for an oncology brand. And you can see there before the paywall, 0 organic impressions, 0 organic clicks. And then month on month, as we're starting to rank in certain positions for certain keywords on that page, you can see that we're actually starting to gain organic traffic to those pages in a compliant manner where historically we just haven't been able to do. So we're opening up new customer bases to our content. And again, doing this across multiple European markets, Canada, and different pharma organizations in the top 20. And finally, we mentioned AI in search. So I think it's imperative now. We get the question all the time: how are we appearing in the Google AI overviews? Are we appearing in LLMs? It's imperative now, and our best clients are asking us and challenging us around these questions. So, firstly, we're helping them understand how they're indexing within those LLMs. So where are they appearing? Where are they not appearing? And then secondly, how we can actually leverage tactics within our online content so that we're indexing more so, or in some cases, where they don't want to be visible, how can we prevent ourselves from being visible in those instances as well? But again, working with the different organizations on how to do this and providing guidance on that. So again, I'd encourage you guys to speak to your agencies and so they can help you understand this process as well.
Thanks, Harry. I think there's before I wrap up, this is the final slide. It would be easy to come here. We've got AI to write something like AI everything. We built our own custom SEO GPT sidebars. They drive efficiencies around categorization, intent, back translation. They then get reviewed by a human. We aren't at the whim of the next GPT. It has to be iterative, and it's not pivoting the entire business to the 1%. It's exploring how you get a rope around the 99%, and then as scientists, you hypothesize, postulate, discount. No different for chatbots and the large language models more broadly, where we're working with AstraZeneca, Sanofi, GSK, ViiV, Novo Nordisk to help them index compliantly where they want to for those inline brands. It's not a wholesale shift. My opinion, and I'm so excited about this space, is you won't see the disintermediation of search. You'll see predominantly Alphabet and Microsoft want to maintain their ad-serving market. So they've already integrated the AIOs, which has driven search behaviors beyond GPT behaviors. So they're still continuing to dominate based on that universal behavior of going to Google or going to Bing. So for me to summarize, if anyone in here takes one or two things away and we improve a life or save a life or reach more people, we did a good thing. I think you can drive transformational commercial change here. New scripts open up new customers who don't engage with industry, new geographies. You can change the cost dynamic in terms of differentiation of resource by removing tens of millions in waste of build, maintenance, DevOps, rounds of amends by thinking about web consolidation. But you won't do it if you haven't got the right skills. Nearly every single program we do with top 16 pharma, we do a training program first for multidisciplinary teams. So we get medical, legal, regulatory, and branding to understand their role in that process. Now, medical are fundamental, and actually Google's EEAT parameters, experience, expertise, authority, and trust, lends itself to medical being fundamental. They may not have seen this approach before, so it's taking everyone on a journey so everyone has a common language, they know what we're doing and why it might feel and look a bit different, but if it's driving growth and relevant to customer centricity, we should do it. So develop the right skills. I've seen a real shift in industry where you collectively in your companies have brought talent from outside industry in, and they're no longer ministry without portfolio. The customer engagement heads have decent budget, and they are driving change, which is really important and exciting for our industry. The next thing to do is, once you've got the skills base, to interrogate the audience behaviors and customer centricity. I think you're going to hear it from the presentation next from our friends, and that actually was earlier today. You've heard it all day. For me, SEO is the truest representation of customer centricity. You are literally starting with what they care about, not your brand USPs. So to understand that, understand the competitive landscape, allows you to then define the ecosystem. Whether that's one site, I don't believe that approach of kind of whack-a-mole of constant proliferating sites. It should be web consolidation and a number of sites, taking a number of sites into a one-domain approach. You can make sure that that ecosystem is fit for purpose. You can optimize the login process to unlock that incredible content done by so many agencies that's seen by next to nobody. And you can change the dynamic in terms of the cost and the return of investment for the business, which is the mandate. Currently in pharma, do less with more. That is the mandate from all our clients. This is an excellent solution. So huge thanks for giving us 20 minutes to share our passion and candor in this space. I don't know if we're doing questions or just handing over, but certainly around for a beer or two throughout the evening to catch up if you're interested. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.